The greatest quarterback of his generation shut out in Miami by a team nobody gave a chance. December 2006. The Dolphins weren't contenders. The Patriots were. None of it mattered. This rivalry never cared about records. For 6 decades, these teams had been making each other miserable in ways that defied logic. The dynasty that kept stumbling, the underdog that refused to stay down, and twice-yearly collisions where the scoreboard lied about everything. 52-0. November 1972. The Dolphins didn't just beat the Patriots during their perfect season, they erased them. Don Shula's machine was aristocracy, and New England was the help. Back-to-back Super Bowl championships, a winning culture so entrenched it felt hereditary. The Patriots, little brother, perpetually outmatched, waiting for a moment that never arrived. During their perfect season, the Dolphins demolished New England 52-0 in their second meeting, a statement shutout that epitomized total dominance, the kind of humiliation that defined the power imbalance for the next 2 decades. Miami won both matchups that perfect year with suffocating defense and surgical offense, but that 52-0 annihilation became the signature moment. The Patriots? They were scrappy, occasionally competitive, mostly forgettable, and the AFC East schedule made them unavoidable. Twice a year, every year, they collided. The Dolphins dominated these meetings with casual arrogance, winning with the confidence of a dynasty that expected submission. Shula prowled the sideline like he owned the real estate, and for decades, he basically did. His 347 career victories would become the record all future coaches chased, a monument to sustained excellence that seemed untouchable. The Patriots collected moral victories and draft picks, waiting for their moment that never seemed to arrive. Everything changed when Bill Parcells arrived in New England in 1993. Suddenly, the Patriots had a coach who didn't flinch in Miami's humidity, who built defense with the same ruthless efficiency Shula once commanded. Bledsoe emerged as a franchise quarterback, talented and confident, armed with a rocket launcher for a right arm. By 1996, the Patriots weren't just competitive, they were Super Bowl contenders. They steamrolled through the AFC, reaching the championship game. But the rivalry's foundation wasn't built on Patriots' success. It was built on Dolphins' resistance. Even as Miami's dynasty faded through the late 90s, even as Shula retired and Dan Marino's brilliant career wound down without that elusive ring, the Dolphins refused to surrender their stranglehold on these matchups. Their identity remained rooted in suffocating defense, a culture that would produce legendary defenders who could dismantle even the greatest offenses. They played the Patriots like they remembered every slight, every laughing dismissal from decades of dominance. The score might favor New England now, but Miami made them earn every yard, every point, every victory with blood. Yet there had been a moment, one shining moment, when the Patriots finally cracked the Dolphins' armor when it truly mattered. January 1986, AFC Championship game at the Miami Orange Bowl, where New England had lost 18 straight games, a streak that felt cursed. The Patriots, led by backup quarterback Tony Eason, shocked Miami 31-14, earning their first ever Super Bowl berth. Eason completed 10 of 12 passes with 3 touchdowns. Craig James rushed for 105 yards, and suddenly, the power dynamic looked vulnerable. It was the first hint that Miami's dominance wasn't permanent, the first crack in the foundation that foreshadowed what would come decades later. But championships have short memories. In the 1994 season opener, the rivalry briefly belonged to the quarterbacks. Marino and Bledsoe engaged in an epic shootout, combining for 894 passing yards and 9 touchdowns in a game that felt like basketball on grass. Miami won 39-35, and for one afternoon, the rivalry had real drama. 2 gunslingers trading haymakers, the kind of offensive fireworks that suggested these matchups could transcend defensive slugfests. The moment proved short-lived, but it showed that even before Brady arrived, these games carried weight. Bill Belichick arrived in 2000 as head coach, though arrived undersells the chaos. He'd resigned from the Jets on a napkin, still under contract, forcing the Patriots to trade a first-round pick just to pry him loose. New England paid for his defensive genius and glacial demeanor before he ever called a play. He inherited Bledsoe, inherited potential, inherited a franchise finally believing it belonged among the elite. But the Dolphins, now coached by Dave Wanstead with a young defensive core, still played spoiler with malicious joy. In Belichick's first season, the Patriots stumbled to 5-11. Then came September 23, 2001. Drew Bledsoe, the franchise cornerstone, took a vicious hit from New York Jets linebacker Mo Lewis. The impact caused a hemothorax, blood flooding into his chest cavity at nearly a pint per hour. By the time doctors intervened, 3 liters of blood had accumulated, sending his blood pressure and heart rate to life-threatening levels. His career suddenly hung by a thread. Brady wasn't supposed to be the answer. He was barely supposed to be on the roster. But Belichick kept starting him, kept building around him, kept winning with defense and Brady's strange calm under pressure. The Patriots clawed to relevance, then playoff contention. Bledsoe recovered but found himself on the bench, watching his replacement become beloved. Nobody saw Dynasty coming. Nobody predicted what happened next. Meanwhile, Miami still owned the psychological edge. Years of dominance don't evaporate because some kid from Michigan starts winning games. The Dolphins believed they knew how this story ended. But even dynasties have expiration dates. The 2001 Patriots weren't supposed to win anything. Brady was too inexperienced, the roster too average, the AFC too competitive. Vegas made them 14-point underdogs against the greatest show on turf. But they kept winning, kept finding ways, kept playing with a chip on their collective shoulder that made them dangerous. When they met the Rams in Super Bowl 36, St. Louis staged a late comeback to tie the game. Most teams would have played for overtime, not these Patriots. With 90 seconds left, Brady marched his offense down the field, methodical, fearless, like he'd done it 1,000 times. Adam Vinatieri lined up from 48 yards. The kick split the uprights as time expired. New England erupted. The dynasty nobody predicted had arrived. But the Dolphins weren't impressed, not yet. On the other side of the rivalry, the 2002 season brought Teddy Bruschi into sharp focus. The linebacker played with controlled fury, a student of the game who diagnosed plays before they developed and hit like a missile programmed for destruction. He embodied Belichick's system: smart, disciplined, relentless. Troy Brown, the scrappy receiver who'd survived mediocre Patriots teams for years, finally had a quarterback who understood his route-running genius. They built chemistry, Brady to Brown, precision passing that picked defenses apart. The Dolphins split the season series with New England. At home in Miami, they throttled the Patriots with old-school dominance. Physical defense, grinding run game, the kind of football Shula would have appreciated. The victory felt like a reminder: we're still here, still relevant, still capable of beating you when it matters. But the Patriots kept evolving. Brady matured from game manager to legitimate weapon, trusting his arm and his receivers. Belichick's defense became suffocating, complex schemes that confused quarterbacks and eliminated star receivers. By 2003, they looked like legitimate contenders again. The Dolphins, now 10-6 and playoff-bound themselves, matched their intensity. Both teams clawed for AFC East supremacy. Both meetings brutal affairs decided by single possessions. New England won both matchups, but barely. The kind of victories that feel Pyrrhic, where the scoreboard lies about how close the game actually was. Jay Fiedler, Miami's quarterback, wasn't spectacular, but he was gritty, extending plays and refusing to fold. The Dolphins' defense, anchored by Jason Taylor and Zach Thomas, made Brady earn everything. No easy throws, no comfort, just grinding football that left bruises. The Patriots captured another Super Bowl that February, defeating Carolina in a thriller. Back-to-back championships cemented their dynasty status. Brady became a household name. Belichick became a genius. But the Dolphins prepared their response, and their defensive identity was about to make Brady miserable. December 20th, 2004, Monday Night Football. The Patriots entered 12-1, defending champions riding a dominant season toward another ring. The Dolphins limped in at 2-11, their season a disaster, their pride in tatters. Nobody gave Miami a chance. The line was double digits. National media wrote the game off as a formality. The game seesawed back and forth, neither team able to pull away. At the end of 3 quarters, the Patriots clung to a 21-17 lead, a 4-point margin that felt precarious given Miami's persistence. The Orange Bowl crowd sensed something brewing. New England extended their lead early in the 4th, 28-17, an 11-point cushion with 4 minutes remaining. Brady looking every bit the Dynasty quarterback, the game seemingly in hand. Then, Brady threw an interception. Miami pounced. Sammy Morris bulldozed in from the 1-yard line. The 2-point conversion failed, 28-23, still trailing. Except the Dolphins weren't ready to go quietly. With under 2 minutes left, Brendan Bledsoe intercepted Brady, not in desperation, but while the Patriots were trying to run out the clock. Miami capitalized, scoring the go-ahead touchdown. Brady got the ball back for one final chance. Arturo Freeman ended it with another interception. The Dolphins' sideline exploded. Players hugged like they'd won the Super Bowl. They'd beaten the Dynasty at full strength, embarrassed the juggernaut, reminded everyone that records don't mean anything when these teams meet, the rare crack in New England's stoic exterior showing through. Dynasty teams aren't supposed to lose to 2-win opponents. But the Dolphins weren't just another opponent. The Patriots still captured the Super Bowl that season, defeating Philadelphia for their 3rd championship in 4 years. But Miami had planted doubt, exposed vulnerability, proven that invincibility was an illusion. The 2005 season brought more battles. The Dolphins improved to 9-7, competitive again, dangerous again. They split with New England, each team protecting home turf. The pattern emerged clearly now. These games existed in their own universe, immune to logic or broader season narratives. The Patriots might be Super Bowl contenders, and the Dolphins might be rebuilding, but twice a year, they met as equals. Then came December 10, 2006. Another Patriots team expecting victory. What happened instead would become one of the most humiliating defeats of the Brady-Belichick era. Miami shut them out completely, 21-0. The Dolphins' defense, led by Jason Taylor and Zach Thomas, suffocated every Patriots possession. Taylor was everywhere that December afternoon. 6 tackles, 2 sacks, relentless pressure that made Brady feel claustrophobic in his own pocket. Thomas orchestrated the middle, reading Belichick's formations and audibling Miami's defense into perfect position. Together, they formed the most formidable linebacker partnership in franchise history, the kind of defensive tandem that turned talented offenses into confused, frustrated shells of themselves. Brady was sacked 4 times, harassed constantly, never comfortable. His offense managed just 189 total yards. The Dolphins' defense suffocated everything New England tried. Taylor would finish that 2006 season with 13.5 sacks and win Defensive Player of the Year. But this shutout against New England showcased everything that made him great. Pursuit angles that defied physics, a motor that never quit, and an ability to wreck offensive game plans single-handedly. Against Brady, he and Thomas were particularly devastating, knowing his tendencies, understanding his progressions, eliminating his comfort throws before he could release the ball. The shutout sent shockwaves through the NFL. The Patriots were supposed to be unstoppable. Brady was supposed to be unbeatable. But Miami's defense had embarrassed them completely, proving that even dynasties have kryptonite. By 2007, however, New England had assembled an offensive juggernaut around Brady. Randy Moss arrived via trade, bringing Hall of Fame talent and deep threat capability. Wes Welker joined from Miami, adding slot precision that made the passing game unstoppable. The 2007 Patriots scored points like a video game on easy mode, demolishing opponents with casual arrogance. They went 16-0, perfect regular season. History in real time. The Dolphins managed only 1 win all year, finishing 1-15, a complete organizational collapse. New England swept both matchups, comfortable victories that felt inevitable. For the first time in years, maybe decades, the rivalry felt one-sided. The Patriots looked unstoppable heading into the playoffs. Destiny and perfection aligned. But even dynasties have expiration dates, and theirs was coming due. Super Bowl 42. February 3, 2008. The Patriots needed one more victory to complete the only perfect season since Miami's legendary 1972 team. The Giants stood in their way, massive underdogs, given no legitimate chance. New England led 14-10 with minutes remaining, perfection within reach. Then, Eli Manning escaped impossible pressure, heaved a prayer downfield that David Tyree caught against his helmet. 4 plays later, Manning to Plaxico Burress, touchdown, Giants lead. The Patriots' perfect season died on the goal line, so close to immortality it could taste it. The loss devastated New England. Brady looked shattered. Belichick looked human. Miami's perfect season remained sacred, untouched, legendary. Don Shula's legacy stood alone. The 2008 season opener brought new hope to New England. Brady looked sharp in the first quarter, moving the ball efficiently. Then Kansas City defensive end Bernard Pollard lunged at Brady's planted leg, twisting his knee sideways with a sickening crack. Torn ACL. Season over. Dynasty suddenly mortal. Matt Castle inherited the starting job, a backup thrust into impossible circumstances. The Patriots finished 11-5, but they missed the playoffs, their first absence since 2002. The Dolphins, meanwhile, hired Bill Parcells as executive vice president, bringing championship pedigree to Miami's front office. Tony Sparano became head coach, installing a physical offense built around the Wildcat formation. Chad Pennington, acquired from the Jets, provided steady veteran leadership. Miami shocked the league, going 11-5 and capturing the AFC East. The Wildcat game in September epitomized Miami's resurrection. Sparano unveiled the formation in its modern incarnation, featuring Ronnie Brown taking direct snaps. Brown rushed for 117 yards, scored 4 rushing touchdowns, then threw another, 5 touchdowns total, 38-13. Belichick's defense looked completely unprepared, but the Patriots adapted. When they met again in November, New England won 48-28. The Wildcats' element of surprise only works once. Still, Miami had split the series. Pennington managed games efficiently, and the Dolphins' defense swarmed Castle repeatedly. For one glorious season, the balance shifted. The Dolphins weren't just competitive, they were division champions again. But Brady returned in 2009, healthy and motivated. The Patriots reclaimed their throne, going 10-6 and winning the division. The Dolphins slid to 7-9. The rivalry's seesaw nature continued. New England swept the season series, both victories workmanlike and professional. Brady looked like Brady again, precise and confident. The dynasty exhaled. The early 2010s brought consistent Patriots dominance. Brady evolved from gunslinger to surgeon, dissecting defenses with short passes and quick reads. Rob Gronkowski emerged as the most dominant tight end in football, an impossible-to-cover matchup nightmare. The Patriots won division titles annually, made deep playoff runs consistently, remained AFC elite. But the Dolphins refused to disappear. They'd win inexplicable games in Miami, using home field advantage and scheme wrinkles that confused New England. The Patriots might sweep the season series 2 years running, then Miami would steal one, usually when it mattered most. They couldn't build sustained excellence, couldn't translate competitiveness into championships, but they could make the Patriots' lives miserable. December 15, 2013 highlighted the rivalry's strange magic. The Patriots were 10-3, rolling toward another playoff berth. The Dolphins entered 6-7, fighting for survival. New England led 20-17 with 4 minutes remaining. Tannehill drove Miami down the field, methodical, determined. With just over a minute remaining, Ryan Tannehill found Marcus Thigpen for the go-ahead touchdown. Brady got the ball back, desperate to respond. 4th down, 7 seconds left. Michael Thomas intercepted him. Game over. The Dolphins won. The play would be replayed for years, not for its beauty, but for its cruelty. Brady, intercepted, walking off the field in Miami, again. We knew they'd make a mistake eventually, Wallace said afterward, confidence bordering on prophecy. The Patriots might be better, more talented, better coached, but Miami believed they owned some psychological edge, some home field voodoo that made logic irrelevant. The Dolphins missed the playoffs again. The Patriots kept winning divisions, kept making championship runs, kept proving their sustained excellence. Miami could win battles, but New England was winning the war. By 2014, the rivalry had calcified into predictable patterns. The Patriots were dynasty, Brady and Belichick winning championships and shattering records. The Dolphins were competitive chaos, cycling through coaches and quarterbacks, flashing potential, then collapsing into mediocrity. New England swept both matchups that season, comfortable victories that barely registered as drama. Then the Patriots won Super Bowl 49, Malcolm Butler's goal line interception against Seattle providing the moment. The following season brought another championship, defeating Atlanta after trailing 28-3. Brady defied age and logic, playing into his late 30s like time was negotiable. Belichick added rings like they were participation trophies. The dynasty entered its second decade, unprecedented and unmatched. But the Dolphins kept fighting. They couldn't build championships, but they could build momentum. The 2016 season saw Miami finish 10-6, their best record in years. They made the playoffs for the first time since 2008. New England still owned the head-to-head. The Patriots won both meetings, the first with Jimmy Garoppolo starting during Brady's suspension, then Jacoby Brissett finishing after Garoppolo's shoulder injury, 31-24. The second game on New Year's Day wasn't close, 35-14. Even without Brady for 4 games, even with backup quarterbacks, the Patriots still swept Miami. But the Dolphins had found something. 10 wins, a playoff berth, proof they could compete even if they couldn't conquer. But they lost in the wild card round, another promising season ending prematurely. The Patriots reached the Super Bowl, continuing their championship chase. The gap between sustained excellence and flashes of competence widened. December 9, 2018 brought the rivalry's most unforgettable moment. The Patriots entered 9-4, grinding through a difficult season. The Dolphins were 6-7, eliminated from playoff contention, playing for pride. New England led 33-28 with 7 seconds left, Miami facing fourth and forever from their own 31-yard line. The game was over except for formality. Ryan Tannehill dropped back, completed a pass to Kenny Stills near the sideline. Stills lateraled to Devontae Parker, who pitched to Kenyon Drake. Drake raced down the sideline, Patriots defenders diving and missing. Rob Gronkowski playing deep safety and failing to make the tackle. Drake scored untouched as time expired. The Miami Miracle. Multiple laterals executed perfectly, defensive angles all wrong. Chaos transformed into choreography. The Miami crowd exploded with primal joy. The Patriots stood stunned, unable to process what just happened. They did it again, Brewski muttered from the broadcast booth, equal parts respect and disbelief. The Dolphins had stolen another game, authored another miracle, reminded everyone that this rivalry operated outside normal rules. But the Miami Miracle proved hollow. The Dolphins finished 7-9, missed the playoffs again, fired their coach again. The Patriots won the AFC East again, reached the Super Bowl again, defeated the Rams for Brady and Belichick's 6th championship together. The greatest dynasty in NFL history kept reaching new peaks. The 2019 season brought the beginning of the end. The Patriots started 8-0, looking dominant. The Dolphins tanked deliberately, trading assets, embracing rebuild, heading toward a 5-11 finish. New England swept both meetings easily, but the final game carried weight nobody recognized at the time. December 29, 2019, the Patriots were 10-5, still fighting for playoff positioning. The Dolphins were 4-11, playing for nothing except pride. New England needed a win to secure a first-round bye. Miami wanted to play spoiler one last time. Ryan Fitzpatrick, the journeyman backup, picked apart New England's defense like he'd memorized their playbook. Miami led most of the game, playing physical and confident. Brady threw for 271 yards, mounted desperate fourth-quarter drives, tried everything. It wasn't enough. Final score, Miami 27, New England 24. Tom Brady's final regular season home game wearing a Patriots uniform. Nobody knew it then. Brady probably didn't even know it himself. But December 29, 2019 would be the last time the greatest quarterback in franchise history took the field at Gillette Stadium in New England colors. A week later, a wild card loss in Tennessee ended the dynasty for good. But this loss to Miami carried its own cruel poetry. The Dolphins, of all teams, delivering one last sting before Brady walked out the door forever. They lost to Tennessee in that wild card round, a shocking upset that exposed the dynasty's mortality. Brady became a free agent for the first time in his career. Nobody believed he'd actually leave. Not after 20 years, not after 6 championships, not after becoming the face of New England sports. But he did. Tom Brady signed with Tampa Bay, ending the greatest quarterback-coach partnership in history. The dynasty didn't just end, it shattered. The 2020 season arrived with Brady in Tampa, Cam Newton in Foxborough, and the Patriots suddenly mortal. Miami hired Brian Flores, a Belichick disciple who knew the system intimately. The Dolphins drafted Tua Tagovailoa, hoping the Alabama quarterback would become their franchise cornerstone. The rivalry's dynamic shifted fundamentally. For 20 years, it had been Brady's Patriots against whatever Miami could assemble. Now both teams rebuilt simultaneously, both searching for identity, both figuring out who they were without their defining figures. The teams split the season series. Cam Newton led the Patriots to a 21-11 victory in the first meeting. But in December, Miami got revenge. 21-12, eliminating New England from playoff contention. Years of frustration released in that single game. They finished 10-6, narrowly missed the playoffs, but proved they could compete. Flores built a defense that confused quarterbacks and generated turnovers. Tua showed flashes of brilliance mixed with rookie mistakes. The Patriots struggled, finishing 7-9, their first losing season since 2000. Newton looked diminished, the offensive system clunky without Brady's precision. Belichick suddenly seemed old, his genius questioned, his methods debated. The dynasty that dominated 2 decades collapsed in months. And the record he'd chased for years, Don Shula's 347 career wins, remained frustratingly out of reach. Brady, meanwhile, won Super Bowl 55 with Tampa Bay, his 7th ring, his 5th Super Bowl MVP, his continued defiance of age and expectation. He proved the genius was portable, that the system worked because of him, not the other way around. The divorce became messier, uglier, more painful. New England drafted Mac Jones in 2021, hoping the Alabama quarterback would restore relevance. Jones showed poise and accuracy, managing games efficiently. The Patriots improved to 10-7, made the playoffs, looked competent. But competent wasn't dynasty. The Dolphins split the season series with them, both games competitive and physical. Miami couldn't solve quarterback consistency. Tua battled injuries and inconsistency. They cycled through offensive coordinators, searching for identity. Flores was fired after the 2021 season, despite back-to-back winning records, organizational dysfunction surfacing. Mike McDaniel arrived as head coach in 2022, bringing offensive creativity and quirky personality. The 2022 season saw both teams make the playoffs. The Dolphins finished 9-8, won a wild-card game, then lost to Buffalo. Tua threw for huge yardage with speed receivers like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, but questions about durability and clutch performance lingered. The Patriots finished 8-9, missed the playoffs, looked ordinary. Mac Jones regressed, the offensive line struggled, the roster showed age. The rivalry that defined AFC East football for generations had transformed into something unfamiliar. No Brady, no sustained dominance, no psychological edge. Just 2 teams trying to figure out their future while their past loomed impossibly large. The Patriots finished 4-13 in 2023, their worst season in decades. Mac Jones was benched, then traded. The dynasty's remnants dismantled completely. Belichick's job security became genuine question. After the season, he and the Patriots parted ways, ending 24 years of unprecedented success. He finished his New England tenure with 302 wins, giving him 333 total career victories, 14 short of Shula's 347. The record he'd spent years chasing, the milestone that seemed inevitable during the dynasty's peak, remained untouched. Miami fans and Shula's family had actively rooted against Belichick breaking the record, and in the end, their legendary coach's legacy remained safe. The king who never left his throne had finally stepped down without claiming Shula's crown. The Dolphins couldn't capitalize. They finished 11-6, made the playoffs, lost immediately to Kansas City in bitter cold. Tua's concussion history became scary narrative. McDaniel's system looked explosive until it faced physical playoff defenses. The window remained frustratingly narrow. Today, both franchises rebuild from different baselines. New England holds dynasty memories and recent futility, searching for identity without Brady and now without Belichick. Miami holds decades of frustration and recent competitiveness, searching for that missing piece that transforms good into championship. The rivalry continues because geography and scheduling demand it, but the personal animosity that fueled their greatest battles has dissipated. The players who embodied those conflicts, Brady's competitive fire, Brewski's linebacker intensity, Taylor's defensive dominance, have retired or moved on. What remains is history, mythology, and twice-yearly meetings that feel more obligation than obsession. Brewski reflected years later on those battles with philosophical distance. Miami was never supposed to beat us based on talent, but they played us like they were defending their home, their legacy, everything that mattered. That defensive pride, that refusal to concede dominance, that stubborn resistance to inevitability, that's what made them rivals. Not equal success or parallel excellence, but the collision of dynasty and defiance, where the favorite stumbled and the underdog refused submission. 6 championships for New England, 2 for Miami. The scoreboard lies about rivalry. It was never about equal achievement. It was about the perfect enemy. The team that knew your weaknesses, that played you differently than everyone else, that made perfection feel like a lie you told yourself between meetings. December 29, 2019, Hard Rock Stadium. Tom Brady walked off that field for the last time in a Patriots uniform. A loss. Of course it was a loss. The Dolphins had sent him out the same way they tormented his dynasty for 2 decades, with a reminder that invincibility has an expiration date, and they'd always known exactly when it was due. If you watch these teams battle for 20 years and want to see how other legendary rivalries shape the NFL, subscribe now. If you like this video, we think you will love one of the videos on your screen right now.